A great place.
Hey, how are you?
What's going on, John?
What's up?
How are you?
Really good. Good to see you guys.
You gotta be feeling good.
Oh, yeah, I feel great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cut your hair.
Yeah, it's down.
Do you like it, though? Because we don't necessarily like the cut. We don't think the back looks very good. Do you think that looks good?
Well, it's grown in a little bit. But...
It's got the taper going.
Yeah, there's a little taper to it.
Yeah, it's a New York thing. It's New York swag.
Right.
It looks good.
New York swag, Jim. You wouldn't know about that.
No, I certainly wouldn't.
You don't.
You took all yours off. It looks good.
Who wouldn't? Sorry, understand that at all.
Jim isn't a New York swag type of guy.
Where you from, Jim?
I'm from Jersey, so I'm a Jersey swag kind of guy. That means you just keep shaving it so the gray doesn't show. It's humiliating.
Nice.
How come you took all yours off?
All right, funny answer. I watched the Tupac movie. And Tupac, he had the bald head with the goatee. And I was rocking it for a while. I was like, let me try the bald head with the goatee. And I loved it. Then I tried to trim my mustache and, can I say fucked it up?
Yeah, you can say fucked it up.
Completely fucked it up. And so now I'm just doing this kind of God of War look.
Isn't it great, though?
Yeah.
It's easier. It's I love having, like, very little hair.
Yeah, oh, it's so much easier, yeah. It feels different, though, when you rub it, it's just such a foreign feeling for me. I don't know, the bald head is new for me, so, but anyways.
Did you like the Tupac movie? I heard, mixed thing. I heard it was really good, and then some people said, that they didn't like it.
I loved it. So I grew up in a super, my dad's a pastor, and they were, I was super sheltered, and so... A lot of old music, my dad just looked at it all as secular music, and it wasn't allowed in our house. So when I watch movies like Straight Outta Compton or this Tupac movie and stuff, I learned things about hip hop that most people already know.
Right.
So I actually learned a lot about the guy through this movie, and I developed a sense of respect for him.
Wow, it's funny. I couldn't watch rated R movies when I was a kid. Are you the oldest?
No, I'm the third down from being the oldest.
So your mom and dad were just strict about what was in the house language-wise?
Oh yeah, dude, it was bad. We didn't have cable TV. We didn't have cell phones until our senior year in high school. We were never allowed to spend the night at people's houses growing up. My parents had this thing. There was after 10 o'clock, nothing good happens. So super sheltered. I think that's why I'm such a wild ass now. I'm catching up for all the shit I missed out on.
It's funny. That's what happens. It's like the preacher's daughter. When she gets out, it's if you're raised really strict.
Just
you get out and you want to do something.
On what you just said, most guys at some point in their lives, that grew up around when we did, wanted to be like Tupac in 95, 94.
Right.
You're just kind of catching up.
I'm just catching on.
Oh
yeah.
shit, this guy was cool. I could be like Tupac
awesome.
now.
Oh yeah, that shit doesn't. Unfortunately, that gets you in a lot more trouble.
Yeah.
These days, trying to be like Tupac.
But it's kind of fun to go back and learn stuff about something that's already a completed work or that's been there for 20 years. That's kind of. I love going back and grabbing stuff. By the way, I have a canker sore garden, and it's
yeah, sure.
All right, it just came off as I'm talking.
Oh, of course.
Sorry, let me swallow it. Okay, cool. That's biodegradable. You're supposed
Wait, you said a canker sore guard?
Yeah, it's a weird little thing that you put on you. I cut my mouth with my mouth guard. I sleep with a mouth guard, so it put a sore in my mouth from grinding. So I put this canker guard on it.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, canker sore thing inside of my nose. But it wound up. It's biodegradable, so it just kind of dissolves, and it just kind of came off, and I just finished it. I'm glad I can talk a little bit.
Do you relate to Jim handling his injuries like you might in training or whatever? He sometimes gets an injury from his apnea mouth guard.
Well, I don't know what to say to that one, to be honest with you.
Congratulations, by the way.
I need more coffee.
Congratulations. It was a really weird fight to watch because I like you and I like DC, and it was heartbreaking to watch him break down like that. Yeah. But I was happy for you.
Thank you.
Because it's like you went through a time where things were fucked up, and now you came back and you were great.
Yeah, I do believe everyone loves a good redemption story.
Yeah.
And I was aware of that going into the fight, and leading up to the fight, and just try to do everything in my power to be that great comeback story, and this is what it's been, and the support has been tremendous. Just so many people writing me and talking about how just my story has inspired them to just keep moving forward, and it's great to be looked at as a person who is really hard to be defeated by life.
Did you because I thought he looked really good. He looked much looser, and he was getting inside. He was closing the distance really much better than I think in the first fight. At the end of the first round, I was looking at you sitting there, and you looked a little bit okay, I'm in a fight now. So how did you feel at the end of that first round?
After a round, actually, so I didn't warm up properly. After the first round, Daniel definitely was doing a really good job, and he was fighting a lot better than I expected him to fight. But my lungs were opening up, and any athlete would know the feeling where it's when you do that first sprint and how you can't breathe, and then after you kind of warm up a little bit, you can you get your second win and you can move a little better.
Right.
That's what I was going through after round one. I thought I had a great warm up, but I didn't focus enough on my lungs, and so dude, after round one, I was like, oh my goodness, like. I was just focusing on some breathing exercises that I try to do. So I think that's what you saw, just that frantic look on my face. But after I got my breathing under control, I felt like I got my lungs warmed up. I got back to being calm, cool, and collected, and just having fun out there. But yeah, Daniel did a hell of a job, dude. He definitely was a lot better than he used to be, which makes me feel good about myself because I beat a better version.
Yeah.
After almost 2 years off. So something to be said about that.
How'd you feel about about his breakdown after the fight when they went to
bad for him.
interview him? He's crying
I felt bad for him. At the end of the day, there is no mercy in combat, and I mean, I do feel as if he would have won, it would have been a complete different energy. It would have been in your face. I'm the champ. I told you, I was the greatest. And I mean, literally, like in round two, he was starting to talk to me. I've never had anybody talk to me during a fight before. He started pointing his finger at me and like, oh, you're missing, and saying all this shit during the fight. So, I mean, he was being arrogant, just thinking that he was going to win. I can only imagine the way he would have acted if he would have actually won. So, yeah, with that being said, I'm glad at the way that I handled the situation because it definitely, it's helped me develop a lot of respect that I thought was unsalvageable, and obviously it wasn't. The respect and the just the fan support has been tremendous. So.
And I had interviewed you on UFC Unfiltered. We were talking about you possibly moving up to heavyweight, and you said like, yeah, I've thought about it, but I want to make sure I pick the right guy. I don't want to go too heavy. I want to stay around 235. And then you call out Brock Lesnar, the biggest moose to ever fight in the UFC. What made you call out? I mean, is that just because that's a huge money fight?
Yeah, it's a big money fight. It's like I think I was inspired by Conor McGregor, to be honest with you, to just dare and to reach higher. I mean, me versus Brock Lesnar is somewhat equivalent to Mayweather and McGregor. I mean, a lot of people would assume that I would lose that fight. I mean, Brock Lesnar is super athletic. He was a Division I national wrestling champion. Yeah, he's older, but he's just a freak. I mean, he's a rare talent, and I don't know what the betting odds would be on that one. And so it's just like, you know what? Do the impossible. Be the David and David and Goliath story. Sure. Just the same way, McGregor dares to compete against Floyd Mayweather. It's like, you know what? If you come up short, at least you have more balls than the average American to even step in there. But I mean, if you win. Just the glory that comes with beating a Floyd Mayweather or beating a Brock Lesnar. Right. It's huge.
What weight do you walk around at normally?
I walk around at about 230.
Okay, so you'd probably be giving up 25 or 30 pounds to him. I wonder what he walks around at. I mean, he fights like, 265?
I would imagine he's a full about 275. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he has to fight at 265.
265, yeah.
Do you know what is the likelihood of him getting into an octagon is? Because like couple weeks ago is when they started saying that he was going to start trying to campaign for eligibility.
Yeah.
And then, but like this weekend, I was reading that he's not doing that anymore, and he's just using it as bargaining so he can stay with WWE.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't really looked into Brock Lesnar's situation too much. I know that once he enters the drug testing pool, he would have to complete 6 months of that. Right now, he's refusing to join in the drug testing pool. So, I mean, I'm not accusing him of being on steroids or whatever. I don't see why you wouldn't just start the process if you were being a clean athlete. But I don't know what's going to happen with him. But I know Brock's a great businessman, and I know he knows this will be huge money. And I'm 40 pounds lighter than him, so I'm sure that just the thought of being the first person to defeat me is really, it has to be running through his mind in the payday. So I'm sure the fight it's going to happen. It's just going to be a matter of time.
So even like, let's say today, he was like, okay, I'm gonna jump into that pool. It's 6 months before he can even think about having a fight.
Right.
I see.
But can you guys, if say he jumps into the pool now, can they at least book the fight and go, okay, we're looking at February?
Yeah, I would imagine they could start promoting the fight just the same way I was promoting my last fight while I was still technically suspended. So yeah, I'm sure do that for Brock.
Were you afraid at one point that your career was over? Did that and thought even though you know athletically you can still do it? Was there that point like I've just spiraled and I can't get out of this?
After the hit and run 2 years ago, I started thinking, man, there is no coming back from this. I mean, not to get into it, but it was so ugly. It was such an ugly situation, and I just felt like I was in an unforgivable position. And then I started getting talked to by mentors, and people was just saying, John, there's been so many athletes who's done so much worse. Not to compare yourself and make what you did any lighter, but I mean, there's been some athletes that's come back from terrible accusations or whatever, the allegations. And so they was just like, what you did was a mistake. It was you being young, having too much fun. It's not like you are this malicious, terrible human being. You're just doing dumb shit, and you got to snap out of it and get back what's yours. And watching Anthony Johnson and Daniel Cormier fight for my title and hearing these type of things, I just thought, man, you know what? I need to be out there. I started thinking, potential is the worst, to have talent and to not be using it, it's the worst. And I was just like, I'm gonna not only come back, but I'm gonna come back in such a triumphant way and just and try to live the rest of my life better ultimately, because I mean I think that's the real win in the whole situation is doing the right things moving forward. And so yeah, to answer your question, I did think about quitting, but instead of actually quitting, like I think a lot of people would do when times go rough, I decided just to be on fire about life and about coming back and making it better than ever. And now we're here, feeling like I'm sitting on top of the world again.
Well, it's hard too, like when you're such a young guy and like you're being considered this greatest fighter on earth. I mean, Tyson had a hard time with that. I mean, when everything is all of a sudden people are like, oh my God, this is the baddest man on the planet. I mean, this got to be difficult to not give in to any temptation.
What did it? Because like you said, like you were raised without any of this stuff as even a thing. Like at what point did you start to become this party guy?
I think just growing up, kind of like we were definitely underprivileged family, and I think a lot of people, well, me anyways, I always had this desire to be the cool guy,
sure,
to be popular and stuff like that, and I became cool, I became cool and famous and rich, and it was just like wow, it was not a life that I ever expected to live, and slowly but surely it just became harder and harder to turn down having a blast, and it just
sometimes it's that simple, right?
It really is.
I never got to have fun like this before, and now I just get to do whatever I want.
Yeah, do whatever you want. You just find yourself around a different reality than most people ever get to experience, and being a small town kid who grew up simple, man, it was a good dream come true. And now I see the danger in that though, I'm grateful for all the struggles that I've been through.
But you
I
were
just
not.
feel like my life experience is so high right now.
You were not cool growing up.
I mean, I was the prom king at our high school.
Okay.
So I mean, and you know what? The reason why I was a prom king was I wasn't like I said, I grew up super underprivileged or whatever. But I was the kid that was nice to everyone. So, the kids in the special classes, I knew a few of them and I was nice to them. The nerdy kid over there or the poor kid over there or whatever, like the kid with a disability, I knew their names and I was friends with everyone. And so I had the people's vote. And so it was actually funny when I saw myself on the ballot with all the popular kids. I was like, how in the hell am I even up here? And it was a surprise to everyone, but I ended up winning that. And it just showed, just
be nice to people.
Be nice to people, yeah. Treat people with respect, and it won't go unnoticed.
Do you feel like you appreciate it more now? Because like whenever you face losing something, or whenever something's taken away, or you can't do it for a while, it stinks, and you're like, this is what life would be like if this was gone, and now you have it back and you won. Do you think you'll look at it a little bit differently now? And
absolutely, yeah. My appreciation for it, for being the UFC light heavyweight champion has grown tremendously. At one point, I thought that I just couldn't lose, and I just thought I was just designed to win, and I can do whatever I want and still go out there and win. And I just took it all for granted. And now I realize that it's possible to be defeated, and that the window is actually not as big as I thought it was. and so that I need to do all the right things to look myself in the mirror every night and know that I'm giving myself the best chances to be an absolute legend of this sport. And it feels good to dare to be great and actually put your true best self forward. And that's who I am today, and that's what I'm trying to do today.
What's the conversation like with Dana White when you have to pull out of a big advertised fight 3 days before the fight because of the drug test that was after the
right
the
So,
because I would imagine he's got to be because I remember that press conference, and he's like he's beat red when he's doing the press conference because he's just found out that this big because I mean it's not a Floyd Mayweather fight, but it's a money.
It was a massive fight,
and it's his business, and he doesn't know at that time that there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, UFC 200 was projected to be the biggest fight in MMA history. I was the headline of it, and through a tainted supplement, which was a total mistake. The fight was canceled, and Dana White was really, really upset. Said a lot of things that I'm sure he regrets, and there really wasn't much conversation between him and I.
So he doesn't call you up and rip your head off?
No. I mean, he definitely expressed to my team that he was disappointed in the way things happened, and tried to put it. Tried to explain it to us from his point of view, saying, John, listen, there's a lot of sponsors and there's a lot of people who invest in these UFC events going down, and when the main event drops out, there's millions of dollars lost, and so we got that, and I've been super apologetic about it, but at the same time, it was a true mistake, and we live and we learn.
Yeah. I mean,
it was just bad timing too. It was to come from a series of stuff that you were correcting,
right? For
then that mistake to just happen right at that time. It was
terrible. It was terrible, yeah, because like I said, 2 years ago, I was actually getting in some real trouble, like legal trouble. I was living young, wild, and free, a little too free, and I almost lost my freedom.
It wasn't free. It wasn't free. It actually.
So that was all 2 years ago, and then I did a lot of things to get back to being able to fight at UFC 200 a year ago, and then to take a male enhancement pill that was designed for your private life.
Sure.
To have that be tested and to find out that it was a tainted supplement, it was like none of the fans really cared to get into the court case and the science behind everything and how it happened, to actually realize, okay, this kid actually has never taken steroids. This was an honest mistake. Even USADA quote it, Jon Jones is not a drug cheat. This is negligence. He didn't realize that, or whatever. A lot of people they never cared to do the homework. So my image was that I had taken a steroid, and it was the biggest hit because I literally spent sleepless nights, figuring out ways to get back in the game, and then to have it all taken away with an honest mistake. It was terrible. It was something I had to really fight hard to get back from. But now we're here.
And people don't understand what those with the pills like Viagra, Cialis, or whatever they are, or even the over-the-counter ones. That sometimes they're like, "What do you need that for?" It's like, no. Sometimes it's just nice. Sometimes I take them a lot. Yeah. I actually made myself stop taking them because for me it was like I began to rely on them, and I was worthless without them.
So honest.
Oh man, I love those things so much.
So honest.
Yeah. But they just give you a little extra oomph. But it doesn't mean that you can't function without them.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, your sinuses get messed up. I'm actually going to have my sinuses checked.
How many are you taking?
Oh, dude, it was back in 2003 when I went to Brazil with my friends. We were popping 100 milligrams, and it was ugly. It was ugly.
He's taking them like multivitamins.
You're the real deal.
Over the counter 100 milligram Viagra's. It was bad news.
My manager over there. Wow.
But it does mess up your sinuses a little bit, I think, on some level. Because I got to go for this. Whatever. I got to get this. That thing that Cody Garbrandt does, that balloon sinuplasty. Have you heard about that?
I think I saw something. Yeah, a little bit about it. Yeah.
But I'm wondering if part of it was those pills because they make you so congested.
Do they?
Yeah, maybe you have good sinuses and they didn't affect you.
I'm not taking 100 milligrams. Though.
Yeah, that's how I knew it was going to be a good time when she was on her way over. I'm like, I can't breathe.
Get over bad for her.
Yeah.
It was funny too because when that started to come out, Jim was one of the first guys to defend you because he was like, yeah, that happens, and of course he would be taking them, and because other people who aren't a part of the culture or world or whatever, married dudes or whatever, they're like, wow, that doesn't make any sense. And Jim was like, it makes all the sense.
Well, if you're married, you still use it with your wife.
I was going to say, I'm engaged, and I'm like, dude, when I do take it, my wife's like, oh I call her my wife because we've been together for so long. Oh, someone's happy to see me tonight. You know what I mean? It's just like you freaking, you have at it, and then literally, I don't know, freaking 20 minutes, it's like it never happened. You're just ready to have at it again. You know?
Oh, my God.
I mean, you want to keep your old lady real happy, gentlemen.
Absolutely, and it just makes you. It takes away that pressure, the pressure of like, all right, is everything gonna be okay? Like once that's there, it's like, whew, all right, that's handled. For me, I have a different path than you. I'm not an athlete. I'm in bad shape, but I need the work.
But are you ready to
worry about liquor dick? You're good.
Are you ready to go again? Like he just 20 minutes later? Can you?
No, I'm not. That's when we part company. No, I'm still a one and done, but the one is okay.
Yeah, okay. Now, you're a stamina guy. Do you got some stamina on you?
You know, I do, but it's only because I'm so mentally messed up. Like, I'm always in my head about stuff, and I don't know how to focus on the real live moment.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's awful. Believe me, it's awful. I was with a girl one time, and I looked down, and she was, like, really, like, she was closing her eyes, which obviously not to have to look. But I'm like, how do you do that? Like, how do you just relax and enjoy a moment? I can't do it. It has to be, like, fueled by thoughts and craziness.
You're more likely to lose an erection than to come too quick.
Yeah, absolutely without a doubt. But,
Great.
Yeah, but those pills are for that. They're good.
Perfect.
So I'm sorry for you. Like once you're done fighting, you'll be able to.
I'm fighting. I'm trying to get like an endorsement deal right now. Cialis, if you are listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, the baddest guy on the planet uses these.
Yes.
Yeah.
But is there a way to get any of those that don't have that one thing in there? Was it just that one supplement that was tainted, or all of them have that?
So I try not to get into it too much, but I mean, I'll briefly kind of explain how it happened. One of my teammates gave me a pill. He said, "Hey, John, this stuff will rock your girl's world," right? So I took the pill and ended up getting tested by USADA like 3 days later. I welcomed them to my house. Yeah, everybody have a seat. Bring everybody water bottles. It was normal procedure.
Sure.
And come to find out before the fight that I was drug tested, and that drug test 3 days before the fight, the results showed up closer to the fight, and manager called me over to his room. John, you aren't fighting. You failed the drug test. You have estrogen blockers in your system. At the time, being a clean athlete, I've been super outspoken about being a clean athlete. Well, not steroids, anyways.
Yeah.
I didn't get it, and so I had a lot of educating myself to do about what estrogen blockers even were. So anyways, to make a long story short, we took all my supplements to a private lab, and it was super expensive. We had them test everything that I take, and I take very generic things. I take like fish oil and multivitamin, protein, everything, very normal things that every man should try to have in their diet, you know, for general health. And so my manager said, John, is there anything that's just out of the norm that you took? And I was like, I had to think hard on it. I was like, there was a sex pill. So we took the sex pill down, we mailed it to a private lab, and we ordered these sex pills straight from the website and had it delivered straight to the private lab. And the lab tested these pills, and what we've come to find out was there were 5 ingredients listed on the actual package of these pills. And what the lab found was 7 ingredients in the pill. So there were 2 things in the pill that weren't advertised.
Which, had you read them, you would have said, "Oh, okay, that's no good."
Right, I can't take that. Right, so sure enough, and the crazy thing about the pills was we had several different packets of the pills tested, and the numbers were always different. So these 2 ingredients that were not advertised, in some pills there would be really high doses, and other pills that would be almost 0. So what that told us was that the factory that we were working with. They're not cleaning their material, their machines properly, and so they're mixing several different supplements on the same machines, and so you're causing all your different supplements that you sell to be somewhat contaminated with things that aren't advertised.
Oh, so wait, that stuff wasn't even in the pill. It was more because the factory was not cleaning the machines. Okay.
Right. So does that?
Yes, it makes perfect sense.
It's like when you get a juice from one of these trucks outside, right? And they use the same blender every time, and that's if you're allergic to strawberries, you better not use that truck.
You're getting strawberry in your shit. And so that's what happened. And I'm grateful that USADA dug so deep into it, man. USADA's the real deal.
Yeah.
They're lawyers, and just the way they handle shit, it was real. And so I was glad to go against them, because what they actually got to prove throughout this whole process is that it was totally unintentional. And there were never any steroids involved, and it was an honest mistake. But they had to punish me because, I didn't ask them, hey, can I take this sex pill? And so they said it was negligent for me to just take a random sex pill.
Okay.
Male enhancement without checking with USADA first. There's steps that we can take to avoid any of this stuff from happening. And if I would have said, hey, can I take this generic brand, this Cialis or this Viagra or whatever, they would have said, yes, this is clear, blah, blah, blah. But me, I took some off counter or whatever, a random male enhancement pill, and I could have avoided this whole situation by just asking them for the okay.
How good did it feel to be vindicated, like in the eyes of people who go, all right, it was a dumb mistake, but it wasn't a cheat? Right. How great did that feel to have the proof from them? It
felt amazing because I feel like there's been athletes who smoke marijuana or parties and throughout history, and it's definitely frowned upon, but it's forgivable.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But steroids. Every guy who's lost money betting against you, the little kids who thought that you were just a super hard worker, everything just becomes delegitimized. It's just like you never were this great that people thought you were. You know what I mean? Where, like partying, it's like, dude, this guy can win while being a party animal. That's like he's a badass.
Yeah,
I mean? But like steroids, it's like, dude, you're not a badass. You've been cheating, and it's just. It's just the biggest insult to be looked at as a steroid user. So it was phenomenal to have USADA themselves come out and say, well, it definitely wasn't steroids. And it definitely wasn't on purpose. It was great to be freed from that.
Do you think it hurts the potential of you doing a Brock Lesnar fight because of what happened after Brock Lesnar's fight with Mark Hunt when they found estrogen blockers, but they didn't find it out till after the fight, so they weren't going to cancel the fight. But the fact that that's there, and a lot of MMA fans were like, oh, that's what happened. The pro wrestler came in and he was all juiced up. And
Mark Hunt was pretty vocal about it too. Mark was pissed.
He's still pissed.
Yeah, Mark always lets you know pretty much how he feels. He was furious.
Yeah. Do you think that hurts, like, the idea of this money fight happening because MMA fans look at Brock differently?
No. I think I don't want to accuse Brock of being on anything, but I would say in his sport, I think fans almost expect that. And when you see these massive guys jumping off ropes and just like bodybuilding and stuff, like it's not talked about, but everyone knows how these guys are looking like that. So I don't think it will affect the fight at all. I think people want to see this massive freak do what he does.
It's okay for there to be a freak show every now and then.
Every now and then. I think as long as he is clean by the time the fight comes around, which USADA will make sure of, then I don't really think the fans care what he's doing to be the best Brock Lesnar in the WWF arena.
I was shocked you called him out because Brock to me is I think there's nobody in the light heavyweight division you can't beat, and a lot of the heavyweights you can beat, but he's a scary guy because he puts you down and lays on you, and he's really good at keeping people down. I mean, he's a big, people say, well, he's a pro wrestler, but he was a legitimate wrestler, man, and he held down Mark Hunt for 3 rounds, and Mark's a really strong guy.
I think that's what makes the fight so great is the legitimate danger there. I mean, people really could see me losing that one. And if I'm not on my game, it's a fight that anything can happen. What you just said. He's a Division I wrestler, super athletic. He's no slouch. Look at him. There's not many men on the planet that looks like this guy. So
and everybody that's ever fought him, whether it's MMA, whether it's pro wrestling, whether it's amateur wrestling, like all anybody talks about is how freakishly strong he is, like inhumanly strong.
They say there's a quote from a movie. It's the heart that makes it great. You know what I mean? It being such a huge challenge is what makes it great, and that's what I'm chasing. I'm chasing greatness, and this is a huge legacy thing for me. To be able to beat Brock Lesnar, it's like, dude, this guy truly is a bad motherfucker.
Well, you've already achieved greatness. You're legitimately looked at as as by far the best light heavyweight, and I would still put you as the best fighter in the UFC. I know Demetrius gets that, and he's great, but I think that you beat some just whatever. I would put you above him.
Thanks, Jim.
Just because of the people you've beaten. The
the
Gustafsson fight.
The resume says it all. Really.
Yeah, and it's got to be hard after a while. It's like, okay, well, you've beaten almost everybody in the light heavyweight division, so now you have to move up. But the only problem is that a lot of those guys with the reach advantage might not be there. When you get a guy like Brock, has got gigantic. I don't know what his reach is, but I imagine it's close to yours.
Yeah. So I've heard that me and Stephen Shrew are the two guys with the longest reach, and it's crazy because he's almost 7 feet tall for my arms to be as long as his. I don't think I would. I don't think the reach would be much different. I think I would still have the advantage over most of them. I just think my presence wouldn't have the same factor. Like when I'm out there, just being taller than these guys, and I just got a big frame, you know. So a lot of times when they grab me, they feel like they're dealing with a heavyweight.
Yeah.
And I've grown up wrestling my older brother, who was always a heavyweight, and most of my teammates that I go with are heavyweights. So I just have a very big presence about me when I'm out there. I've noticed, you know, I appear bigger than people. And at heavyweight, I think that would be gone. You know, no more could I just clinch somebody up and just flip them to the floor and you make it look effortless. I would really have to be, my strength would have to be at a completely different level. My endurance would have to be in a completely different level to fight against these heavyweights. Everything I do would take double the energy, and so I would really have to be in tremendous shape to compete against these guys, which I'm not afraid of trying to do.
Well, that was what I was wondering. Like, when you call out a Brock Lesnar, or when it's just simply make that plan on going into the heavyweight division, do you do it, like, with a strategy in mind? Like, I know I can train, and this is how I would beat Brock Lesnar if he accepted this fight? Or do you do it just knowing I'll be able to come up with a strategy before then?
Yeah, I feel like stylistically, Brock Lesnar is a very winnable fight for us. I mean, the key to the fight would have to be just really just kind of just using my versatility on the feet and my speed. And then I have really good takedown defense as well. Gustafson's been the only guy to get me down, and I was just completely caught off guard, and I wasn't expecting a Swedish boxer to shoot a double leg dive. Completely caught me off guard. I don't think they have wrestling over there in Sweden. Yeah, it was, you know, so yeah, the key for Brock is literally to just really stick and move. And then I wouldn't be surprised if I got him down. You know, I have a lot of unconventional trips and takedowns that I pull off on heavyweights all the time. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I took down Brock and finish him off with a submission and things like that. So.
And how was it after the fight, too? I saw your video at The Rock. That was a fun video to watch. Had you met him before, or was that your first time interacting with him?
That was my first time meeting The Rock, dude. It was such an honor. I have so many friends that worship that man. I mean, he's a true idol.
Yeah.
To so many people of so many different ages and races and countries.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like one of those. He's like a Michael Jackson-like figure on the planet, like just loved by millions, millions and millions of people. And so to meet him, you really, for me, I felt like I was in the presence of true greatness. This guy is so great, and he was just so kind. And one of my favorite things about meeting celebrities is when you meet ones that are exactly the way they appear to be and why you love them across the TV screen. Yeah. And he was everything that I was hoping that he'd be. Just super genuine and just a nice guy. It was an honor to meet him.
Do you ever care who's in the crowd when you're fighting? Does it ever mean anything?
Not too much. As I've gotten more seasoned as a fighter, I've learned to kind of embrace every ounce of fighting. So I'm literally like looking around to see what celebrities are there, and I'm waving to people. I'm scanning the first few rows to see who I know, and acknowledging everybody and stuff like that. And I'm glad to be that way because it just shows my level of comfort in the octagon. But no, I'm never like more nervous because a certain person's there. No, I did hear Donald Trump was planning on coming to this fight. And I guess security reason why it wasn't going to work out, but I think that would have added a little nerve.
Sure, yeah, to whoever the sitting U.S. president is, yeah.
President, yeah, that would have been cool.
They rumored him coming to New York, too. They said he might come to New York.
To the Garden Show?
Yeah, we had heard that. I think his son might have come.
Oh, I remember that, yep.
But the security to get any... I was at the only boxing match I've ever gone to was I saw Golovkin fight, and Trump was in the row ahead of us, like 4 seats down, but he was still running. So he had Secret Service, but he wasn't the president. Now, forget it.
Yeah.
You can't put the president in the middle of an arena.
Yeah, no way. No way. Too many holes.
Just 3 people yelling. Or just even people that were just yelling and screaming.
It's a huge distraction.
Yeah, it'd be a big distraction.
For sure. With GGG, who was he fighting?
I don't remember the guy's name, actually. I'm not a big boxing fan at all. Louis C.K. called me the night before. He goes, what are you doing tomorrow? Do you want to? I'm like, nothing. He goes, you want to go see a boxing match? So I just met Louis, and we just went to the fight. I forget who he was fighting, to be honest with you.
He's a special talent.
Yeah, I like him a lot, but I very, very rarely watch boxing. I stopped years ago because of MMA. I just enjoy it much more.
What's your prediction with Mayweather, McGregor?
Mayweather. And it's not because I don't like McGregor. I never liked McGregor because he always beats up people I like. Like, I like Eddie Alvarez.
At least you're honest.
Yeah, but I mean...
Good luck trying to get him on your show now.
No, I would love to interview him because I think he's great. I mean, the guy's a great fighter. That fucking second Diaz fight, the fact that he lost and then came back and won a 5-round decision, I mean, it was incredible. The guy's, he's phenomenal. So I would love to see him beat Floyd Mayweather because I like him a lot more than I like Floyd. I'm not a big Floyd fan, even though I respect him. So I would like to see McGregor beat him, but I just don't think you can come in and beat a best defensive fighter ever.
What is it about Floyd?
You know, I've interviewed him once, and he wasn't unpleasant, but he was a bit standoffish. And normally that's how I judge people, is how they are when I've talked to them. And he wasn't. I mean, he spoke.
It's the best way to judge someone.
Yeah, it really is. Like, I can only...
you actually met him and not like him, right?
Right.
I hate when people hate someone that they've never met. It's just like, come on, guy.
I read an article about him. I can't stand the guy.
Right,
like, well,
right.
Yeah, we had him on, and he came in. And again, I know he's Floyd, but he came in with, like, really gigantic bodyguards, and I'm like, you don't need all that. He had kept his sunglasses on. I'm like, Floyd, we're just promoting a big show wrestling.
Money.
He wasn't awful, but he could have been a little bit looser. Like, you know, Tyson comes in by himself or with a buddy or with his wife. Like, he doesn't need guys. You know, I just prefer that.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Just like I was telling you, like, one of the best things about meeting celebrities is when they're being a human being.
Yeah,
when they're real.
Right.
Did you decide to switch up how you dress, like coming? Because I kind of noticed it, like, looking at, like, interviews you were doing leading up to the fight and then after the fight. Like, it seemed like you were consciously trying to portray something different, like a little more mature, a little more, like, you know, put together.
Yeah, I think it's important for me to obviously I'm not like a super fancy like suit guy or whatever, but I think it is important for me to try to, you know, represent myself as a professional, especially because of my history.
Right.
I think, you know, a lot of people may kind of look at me as being a little bit of a thug or whatnot, and so I just make sure I put a little bit more thought into the way I'm carrying myself and present myself. I know that I'm trying to rebrand myself and create a new beginning, a new image and things like that. And so I just think, you know, looking like a young man is important.
Is it important to you from a role model perspective too? Because especially as like a famous black man,
right? Like,
there's not that many great male black role models. People talk about it all the time.
What are you saying, guys?
I know, Sam.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Yeah. What I would do is I would smack him. Sam.
No,
you black men are pieces of... Really? Is that what you...
Well, there is a legitimate question. Do you feel a pressure? Because a lot of times people will say, like, hey, you're a black role model. Do you feel any pressure to behave a certain way because there's that pressure put on you? You're welcome, Sam, by the way, for fucking fixing up that shitty question.
Yeah, you like... Yeah,
I was going on.
What the fuck is this guy going
I
with?
was getting there.
I don't really look at it as a black and white thing. I just think, you know, like, my kids are half white and everything like that. A lot of my friends are Hispanic and white, and so I really try not to look through the eyes of color. I just think it's important as an athlete to I realize that we have a platform and that we can actually inspire a lot of people, and we can also lead people down the wrong path. And I feel like for a while there, I led a lot of people down the wrong path. You know, I've had fighters say things to me like, "Oh, dude, if you can drink before a fight, then I'll drink before a fight. I could do it too." You know, so I just feel like I've done a good job not being the best example, and so at this point, I'm really ready to try to inspire people through my life. So I don't really feel pressure for being like a black athlete or whatever. I just feel like with great gifts and talents come great responsibility, and I have to try to do right for the most part, because I understand that people are watching. I understand that I've been a bad example for a lot of athletes and things like that. So it's time for me to get some of that back and show people that, you know, rocky beginnings doesn't necessarily have to be the whole story.
Sure.
You know.
And Travis is telling us we have to wrap up, so I'm guessing that's coming. They have other press.
Yeah, he's got to go to Sway.
Okay. And just I think the thing is people love the fact that, and just in closing, that everyone likes a good turnaround, and the fact that being flawed is okay. Like having fucked up is okay. It's like it's not a sign of weakness. It's like, hey, who at 23, champion of the world, wouldn't make some mistakes?
Right.
Now you're 30, you got it out of your system. It's like you still got years of fight. It's great, man.
People do. People do. They love to boost somebody up. They love to tear them down. And then the few people that are like strong enough to actually then be able to be the redemption story, because most people after the teardown are done.
Yeah.
But like if you can get yourself back up there, then I think people will they love that forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I just feel like my situation is just so relatable, and so it's been a blessing and a curse. And I think that's been the main problem with Daniel Cormier, just to constantly, tell people, oh, I don't wreck my car, I don't do this, I don't party, blah, blah, blah. It's like, Daniel, there's just so many more people who's made mistakes in their life. Everybody's dealing with some type of demon one way or another. And so to try to market yourself as this perfect person, it's just so unrelatable. And so with all my struggle and all the shit that I've been through, man, it's been great because I hear people all the time tell me, like, John, you have no clue how bad I just dropped out of school, or hey, I just got my girlfriend pregnant, or hey, I had just, and it's just like I was so inspired to know that my life isn't over because of all the shit you just got through.
Right.
And, so it's great to be a testimony, a living testimony that people can draw strength from. It really is.
And what I want, I'll ask you for is the Gustafsson fight. I would love to see Jones Gustafsson too. That's what I want to see. That
everybody wants to see that.
Yeah.
Man, I'm riding a wave right now, dude. Like I said, I'm expecting more out of myself, and if that's the fight that's going to be next, man, I'm expecting to finish him as well.
Well, congratulations, man. I was really, really happy for you, and that everything has turned around, and I'm glad you're back.
Thanks, Jim.
And it's Johnny Bones with no H, JONNY Bones on Twitter. If you want to congratulate John.
Hey, my guy. Thanks for that.
All right, buddy. All right, we'll be right back, guys,
Yes.
with Damian Lemon.